Sunken Valley. As the sun dipped below the horizon, its final rays cast a fiery glow over the sunken valley. Megan adjusted her helmet cam to capture the breathtaking scene, while Jax and Riley watched in awe. The trio stood on the edge of the treacherous pit that had captivated them since they were children, now fueling their popular YouTube series called Edge of Nowhere. With a mixture of both fear and excitement, they eagerly prepared to descend into the depths of the sinkhole. Their headlamps illuminated the darkness as they descended the rocky walls, their fingers gripping the unforgiving surface. Intricate murals adorned the stone walls, remnants of an ancient civilization. Even Megan, known for her thrill-seeking nature, couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that crept over her. As they explored further into the valley, Jax's voice echoed through the quiet as he stumbled upon a grouping of strange markings. Riley perceived the slight shift as the ground trembled beneath their feet. Despite the unnerving discovery, the allure of viral fame was too strong for the adventurous vloggers to resist, so they continued in search of more thrilling footage for their fans. Jax eagerly led the expedition deeper into the cavern. Megan followed closely behind, her steps faltering as she attempted to hide her fear. Riley, always focused through the lens of his camera, captured every moment of their descent into the unknown. As they ventured further, the ancient murals on the walls grew increasingly threatening, depicting an evil entity awakening and unleashing its wrath on all who dared to disturb its slumber. The once subtle tremors now rocked the ground like a beating drum, building to a deafening crescendo. A sudden crack sounded as the earth split wide open, releasing a murky fog that choked their every breath. A guttural groan echoed from within the fissure. Panic consumed the group as they rushed toward the distant speck of light at the other end of the valley. And then the creature appeared, a hideous mass of shadows. Its obsidian skin reflected the dim light, giving off an otherworldly brilliance. Its long limbs twisted and jerked, seemingly independent of one another, as it emerged from the divide in the ground. The creature's jaws were a menacing sight, lined with razor-sharp teeth. Terrified, Riley stumbled and fell. He hit the ground with a thud, his hand still clutching the camera as he raised it to his eye. Through the lens, he saw the monstrous figure approaching. His heart pounded with fear, not for his safety but for what he knew was about to happen. Megan and Jax frantically shoved past Riley, their hearts thundering as they scrambled for an escape that simply did not exist. Riley watched helplessly through the camera lens as the creature's jaws opened wide. With lightning speed, it lunged forward and snapped Megan into its grasp. Her screams pierced the silence as she struggled against its iron grip. Jax came to a sudden and horrifying stop, his eyes widening in terror as he witnessed the brutal attack on his closest friend. With each swing of its powerful limbs, the entity tore Megan's fragile body apart, her screams reverberating through the area until they were abruptly cut off with a sickening snap. With a careless flick, the creature tossed her lifeless body aside, leaving only shreds of torn flesh and fabric behind. Turning its bloodthirsty gaze to Jax, it bared its jagged teeth, extinguishing his existence with a swift swipe of its massive claws. The live broadcast captured the chaos and horror as it unfolded in the Sunken Valley. The camera shaking as it attempted to capture the entity, its barbaric screams piercing the cavern. Megan and Jax's sobs echoing off the valley walls as the creature ended their young lives, Riley's shaking hands fumbling for his camera, raising it in one brave and final act of defiance, determined to document their last moments. Suddenly, the screen went black, leaving darkness behind and a chilling tribute to the vloggers who had sought fame but found their demise. The valley was sealed off, but snippets of the footage went viral on the internet, a haunting tale whispered in the agonizing cries and traces of blood, forever immortalized in digital remembrance. It stood as a dire warning and grim reminder that there are lines that should never be crossed. Beyond those boundaries lies a world of unspeakable terrors, waiting to devour anyone foolish enough to pass. Echoes of the Avalanche. Tenzin stumbled out of the blizzard, his body a tattered shell struggling against the relentless grasp of Mount Kanchenjunga. The icy winds whipped against his frozen skin, threatening to snatch him back into the blinding white abyss. His mind was a jumbled mess of memories shattered like broken glaciers, and buried deep in the recesses of his consciousness. The faces of his lost companions, Maya, with her infectious laughter, and Marley, the unflappable Sherpa, taunted him from the edges of his thoughts, their final moments replaying on an endless loop. Fueled by guilt and an insatiable need for closure, Tenzin had embarked on a solitary journey back to the site of the devastating avalanche. Each step up the treacherous slopes was a grueling battle against his amnesia, a tireless effort to unearth the truth. But the mountains seemed determined to thwart him at every turn. The wind roared, carrying fragments of memories in its merciless gusts. Maya's piercing scream was swallowed by the deafening roar of snowfall, and Marley's steady hand slipped from his grip as they both disappeared into the swirling white oblivion. The frozen landscape stretched out before Tenzin, a desolate and unforgiving wasteland. The jagged ice formations jutted up like skeletal fingers, reaching toward the dark, stormy sky. As he trudged through the snow, his mind strayed to thoughts of his lost companions, their faces haunting him with each step. Suddenly a glimmer caught his eye, a mirage of his friend Maya, beckoning him toward a spire of ice in the distance. Driven by a desperate longing for any sign of life, he followed her shadowy figure into the depths of the tundra. The steeple pulsed with a ghostly glow, murmuring secrets that echoed through his numbed ears. Accusations and regrets floated on the air, plaguing him with guilt. Was it his hesitation that sealed their fate? Or was he too afraid to face the truth? The whispers were like icicles piercing his chest, etching a chilling image of his shortcomings. It was then that Tenzin realized he wasn't just a mere survivor. He was also responsible for ending lives. Each day bled into the next without distinction, a never-ending maze of agony and remorse. The once majestic mountain peaks mocked him with their beauty, a cruel reminder of the tragedy that had claimed his friends. Their voices echoed in the creaks of the glacier and howls of the wind, haunting him at every turn. One desolate morning, Tenzin stumbled upon the avalanche site. In the glaring light of day, the snow stood out in stark contrast to its previous role as a burial ground. Maya and Marley were frozen in time, their faces contorted with fear and agony. Tenzin could not help but see his reflection in the crystal-clear ice next to them, a constant reminder of his survivor's guilt. He realized then that he had not been a coward. He had fought with all his might to save his friends. But nature had mercilessly taken them, leaving him to bear the weight of their deaths. Tenzin was no longer just a survivor, but a prisoner trapped in the barren wasteland of his mind. The deep scars of trauma had taken root, twisting and distorting his very psyche until he was nothing more than a shattered reflection of his former self. Every thought became a razor-sharp blade, relentlessly cutting through what was left of his sanity. And every day was a grueling war, each step forward a brutal fight against an all-consuming quicksand that threatened to swallow him whole. Room 428. When I told the receptionist I wanted room 428, he went pale and stuttered out a question. His nervousness didn't register with me. I was too focused on my thoughts. I took the worn key from him, unaware of the room's dark past. If I had, I would have left immediately. I was in Timberline for work, a small mountain town where we were considering a construction site. The Ardsley Lodge was my temporary home, an old hotel that had seen better days. It wasn't fancy, but it suited me just fine. The hallways were dimly lit and creaky, and my room was at the end of one of them. When I unlocked the door to room 428, I found an outdated interior, dark wood walls and heavy drapes that blocked out most of the light. There was an old dresser with a tilted mirror reflecting my confused face under poor lighting conditions. As I moved to open the curtains, a shadow passed across the mirror. It made me feel uneasy, but I brushed it off as exhaustion playing tricks on me. I decided to get some food from the hotel restaurant. When I came back later that night, something felt off as soon as I opened the door to room 428. My skin broke out in goosebumps. Something was wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was until I saw cracks all over the dresser mirror. Feeling sick, I ran into the bathroom. When I returned to the bedroom, words etched into the dresser mirror stopped me in my tracks. "Get out." I quickly left room 428 and told reception what happened. They reluctantly gave me a new key along with a warning. That night wasn't restful. The lights in the corridor flickered as if they might go out at any moment. Every little noise set me on edge. Around 3 a.m., a scream echoed through the halls and I heard footsteps outside my room. The next morning, I packed my things and left Ardsley Lodge as fast as I could. A few days later, curiosity got the better of me, and I looked up the history of the lodge online. What I found still haunts me to this day. 40 years ago, a man named Lyle Parker had killed his family and 3 other guests in room 428. The police discovered him with his hand covering his eyes, holding a hunting knife amidst walls adorned with bizarre symbols that said, "The darkness has risen." He claimed he'd accessed the desolate void, an eternal realm of torment that existed alongside our world, causing him to physically disintegrate into darkness itself. His institutionalization and subsequent death at the age of 86 ended whatever terror he'd brought into this world. Night after night, I am haunted by terrifying nightmares filled with screams and dark shapes. I can't shake the feeling that somehow I have awoken a dormant force, and it has set its sights on me. Sinister Stay. The air conditioner wheezed, breaking the eerie silence of the large room. As I unpacked, a strange feeling of being watched crept over me. I looked around at the plain beige walls and messy bedspread. The feeling was like an itch on my neck that wouldn't stop. A cold gust swept the room and the bedside lamp turned off, leaving me in darkness. I reached for my phone, its dim light a small comfort. The battery indicator blinked, just 2%. Great timing in an isolated and unfamiliar place. The air conditioner started up again, bringing with it a burst of cool air and a soft hum. A low moan sounded around me, seeming to come from within the vents. My heart pounded against my chest like it wanted out. I managed to convince myself that there was no need for concern. It was only the wind blowing into the air conditioning unit. Right? But that disturbing feeling of being watched grew stronger. There, in the darkness beyond my phone's weak light, I thought I saw movement, a fleeting shadow on the bare wall. Fear took hold as I got out of bed and fumbled for the light switch. The bright fluorescent light chased away shadows, revealing nothing but harmless vents hanging overhead. I felt relieved until my eyes fell on my phone. An unfamiliar font spelled out one word: "Welcome." A gut-twisting nausea rooted itself in my stomach. The low hum from the air conditioner got louder and the ceiling vents shook. Then crash. The vents opened, releasing a black mist that pulsated with an unusual energy. Coughing and struggling to breathe, I stepped back. My phone fell to the floor. The mist morphed into weird shapes that swayed at the edges of my vision. Whispers filled the room, speaking in a strange tongue that made absolutely no sense to me. Panic pushed me toward the door, but when I touched the handle, it disintegrated in my hand. I was stuck. The whispers grew louder and louder, and the mist formed figures with glowing red eyes that stared right into me. I screamed as adrenaline rippled through my body. There had to be a way out. My eyes landed on a tall, narrow window, at this point my only hope of escape. I threw a chair at the glass, then climbed through the jagged opening. I'd never been so happy to be on the first floor of a building. I ignored the cuts on my clothes and body, desperately wiggling myself to the ground below. Noises sounded behind me and the whispers turned into growls. There was no way I was facing whatever horrors were inside that room. Without looking back, I pushed through a patch of thick foliage. The whispers echoed faintly in my ears. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I collapsed to the ground and everything around me went pitch black. I awoke to the worried faces of a search party who had found me delirious and mumbling about monsters and whispers. They dismissed the episode as the rumblings of an exhausted man under way too much stress. Back home, I told myself that it was all a dream, just an illusion manifested by sleep deprivation and the long drive. But the memory of whispers and red eyes stayed in my mind no matter what I did. I looked up the hotel online but found nothing but good reviews. No mention of anything weird or unexplained events. It seemed like the experience was all in my head until a few days later. An email arrived in my inbox with a subject line that sent an electric chill down my spine. "Thank you for your stay." The email held a single unsettling image, a distorted view of the room I'd occupied. The walls were bent in ways that defied physics, and shadows pooled in the corners like predators lying in wait. 2 red eyes glowed from the center of this madness, staring directly into the lens. With too many questions left for closure, I found myself back at that cursed place. The hotel looked the same from the outside, but there was no way I was going inside this time. Instead, I approached the manager, a man with an unremarkable smile and an equally unimpressive personality. "I stayed here recently," I said, I need to ask. He interrupted me before I could finish my question. Ah, yes, room 13, he replied, overly cheerful. Such a lovely room. We're glad you liked your stay. There was something wrong, I insisted. The vents, the whispers. His gaze wavered for just a second, a momentary lapse in his indifference before an eerie grin came to his face. He laughed off my concerns. Those are just wind whispers. They can be quite convincing at times. His words hit me hard, forcing me to face the reality I'd feared. The Sunview Inn was more than an old hotel with noisy floors and stale rooms. It housed a dangerous being within its vast vent system. My heart raced as I stepped back, aware that sharing my find would only lead to ridicule. Who would believe such a grim story? But there it was, a secret tying me to that damned place. The truth weighed on me, heavy like lead. Even if the whispers didn't invade my dreams each night, they were always there, reminders of unseen horrors. I started watching the news constantly, looking for signs of another missing person, another victim of Room 13's terror. At night, I thought I heard those whispers again, a haunting sound from places humans should avoid. These whispers now held something more. They had a name. A stark reminder of the night I discovered that not everything is as it seems. Hidden dangers can lurk in the most ordinary places. In the heart of the American West, nestled amidst the towering pines and the brooding silence of ancient woods, lies the infamous Overlook Hotel, a place where history and horror intertwine, forever etched in the annals of human tragedy. Decades after the events of Stephen King's seminal novel, The Shining, the hotel's dark legacy continues to cast a long shadow, its sinister power drawing in those who possess the Shining, an extraordinary gift that allows them to perceive and interact with the supernatural. Dan Torrance, now a middle-aged man, bears the scars of his traumatic childhood at the Overlook Hotel, his life haunted by the spectral remnants of his past and the lingering effects of his encounter with the malevolent forces that reside within the hotel's walls. Struggling with alcoholism and the weight of his past, Dan seeks solace in anonymity, working as a caregiver, using his shining gift to ease the passage of the dying. Abra Stone, a young girl with an extraordinary power that surpasses even Dan's, finds herself targeted by a ruthless group known as the True Knot. This nomadic cult preys upon those who possess the Shining, draining their life force to extend their existence. Drawn together by their shared gift and a common enemy, Dan and Abra form an unlikely alliance, embarking on a perilous journey to confront the True Knot and the evil forces they command. Their path leads them back to the Overlook Hotel, a place where Dan must confront the ghosts of his past and harness the full potential of his Shining if he hopes to protect Abra and defeat the True Knot's reign of terror. Dr. Sleep is a chilling and suspenseful sequel to Stephen King's masterpiece, The Shining, blending elements of horror, suspense, and coming-of-age drama. The film delves into the depths of human nature, exploring the themes of trauma, redemption, and the enduring power of love and friendship in the face of overwhelming darkness. Ewan McGregor delivers a captivating performance as Dan Torrance, his portrayal capturing the character's struggle with addiction, guilt, and the lingering trauma of his past. His journey from a troubled man to a reluctant hero is both heartbreaking and inspiring. Kylie Curran shines as Abra Stone, her portrayal infused with both innocence and strength. She embodies the resilience of the human spirit and her unwavering determination to protect those she loves. The film's exploration of the Shining as a double-edged sword is particularly compelling. While the gift allows its possessors to perceive and interact with the supernatural, it also comes with the burden of confronting the darkest corners of human existence. Dr. Sleep is a must-see for fans of Stephen King and horror cinema alike. Its captivating story, well-developed characters, and masterful execution will leave a lasting impression on viewers long after the final credits roll. Dr. Sleep is a drama fantasy horror that is 2 hours and 32 minutes long and is rated R. The Southern Underworld gives it 5 bloody knives. Beneath the neon glow of Detroit's underbelly, Tess, a young woman seeking refuge in a seemingly unremarkable rental home, stumbles upon an unsettling truth. The door unlocks to reveal not solitude, but the unsettling presence of Keith, a man who claims he booked the same place through a different app. Thrust into an awkward night of cohabitation, Tess is plagued by a gnawing unease, a primal sense of danger lurking just beyond the shadows. Director Zach Cregger crafts a suspenseful atmosphere, weaving together elements of classic horror with a fresh, subversive edge. The cramped confines of the house, with its peeling wallpaper and creaking floorboards, become a living entity, harboring secrets in every corner. The haunting score amplifies the tension, while Georgina Campbell delivers a nuanced performance, capturing the growing paranoia and desperation of her character. As Tess investigates the house's hidden depths, a network of dark tunnels reveals not just unsettling truths about the building's history, but also about the chilling entity that binds it. Flashbacks and unexpected narrative shifts further blur the lines between reality and nightmare, keeping the audience constantly guessing about the true nature of the horror at hand. Barbarian is a descent into the abyss of human depravity, a stark exploration of the vulnerabilities that lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives. Cregger masterfully navigates genre tropes, subverting expectations and delivering a unique viewing experience that is both terrifying and thought-provoking. The film's pacing slowly builds unease before exploding into moments of shocking violence and grotesque imagery. The scares are not just visceral but psychological, tapping into our primal fears of isolation, betrayal, and the unknown. Barbarian's graphic violence, disturbing subject matter, and relentless sense of dread can be upsetting for some viewers. But for those who appreciate a well-crafted horror film with genuine depth and originality, Barbarian is a gem in the genre. The film's uniqueness lies in its ability to confront our darkest fears and challenge our perceptions of reality. It reminds us that the monsters we most fear are not always lurking in the shadows, but sometimes dwell within the very heart of the familiar. The film received critical acclaim for its originality, acting, and direction. This movie had everything for me: mystery, a plot twist I did not expect, terror. It was the best time I've had watching a movie in a long time. I highly recommend this one. With its unforgettable story, masterful direction, and chilling exploration of the human condition pushed to its breaking point, Barbarian stands as a testament to the power of cinema to confront our fears and ignite critical reflection on the shadows that dance at the edge of our civilized world. Barbarian is a horror mystery thriller that is 1 hour and 42 minutes long. It is rated R. The Southern Underworld gives it 5 bloody knives. Rearview Terror. Rain pelted the windshield as Lisa, hands trembling, unlocked her car. Wiping the fogged glass with her palm, she glanced into the rearview mirror before reversing. Instead of an empty back seat, a grotesque face with sunken eyes and an evil grin stared back at her. She spun around. Nothing. Her heart pounded as she faced the mirror again. The horrifying image persisted. A chilling laugh echoed in the car. Frozen in fear, Lisa screamed and lunged for the door handle, but a decayed hand clamped onto her shoulder. The foul stench of rot filled the air as the ghastly figure crawled forward from the back seat, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. Lisa's muffled cries were silenced as she was pulled into the back seat by an unyielding grip. After that night, Lisa vanished without a trace. Drowning in dreams. Heidi's documentary on sleep paralysis summoned an unholy entity from her nightmares into reality. Dismissing spectral sightings and oppressive fear as mind tricks, she was unprepared when a grotesque creature invaded her dreams. Her life became a ceaseless horror, her camera capturing the invisible terror that blurred the lines between real and unreal, entrancing viewers who mistook her mental descent for creative brilliance. One chilling touch from the creature, and she dropped her camera, capturing a final image of her terrified expression mirrored by a satisfied smirk. The following day ushered in an unsettling silence within Heidi's home, unbroken save for the forsaken camera, a chilling testament to invisible horrors, a grim reminder that some stories unravel on their own, and the pursuit of knowledge can come at a great cost, potentially one's very identity.